Since Slovenia has progressed so much, it's apt to get less subsidies from the EU. Is that not correct? And other countries such as Romania and Bulgaria will probably benefit more. Is that going to provide some negative reaction in Slovenia, or is Slovenia prepared?
Well, first, you're right, because we are almost at the 90% of average GDP in European Union. We are less and less entitled to these funds or to use the money from the funds from Brussels. That's something that we're not ready to give up yet. We don't believe we are so developed that we can be just contributor to the budget and not receiver from the budget. So I think it's part of negotiations for the next budget that's coming in 2009 that will try to still remain or keep the status of receiver at the same time as when we are contributing. But we are going out. We just want slower phasing out, gradual phasing out of these funds. That's something that we know it's coming. We have such a GDP that we should be happy for that. But at the same time, it should be gradual. But for Slovenians, European Union means much more than just getting funds from the budgets from Brussels. I think we are very passionate about European Union because for us there is no other alternative. We saw the other alternative, being member of Yugoslavia, being part of Yugoslavia. We saw what's the alternative to being member of European Union. We didn't like it. So that's why we're very passionate that we are a member of the European Union, and we are passionate that the European Union develops and keeps developing. And that's why we're also very passionate with this enlargement, because we saw how much we profited from it, and how we see how it can be helpful to other countries as well. So funds are important, of course, and we hope we'll continue to get them. But that's not what EU is about.
Just in a nutshell, how do you foresee the EU changing in terms of its governing structures in the future?
Well, we just adopted a new treaty in December. That's a treaty that was meant to first simplify procedures, to make European Union decide things more quickly, more easily, less cumbersome, to be more operational. So there are more things that we decide by majority, not by consensus of the member states. There are more things that we hand over to the Commission in Brussels to decide in our name. So there's more sovereignty that we gave to Brussels. And probably that will continue to a certain point. I don't think we are going to reach a point of United States of Europe. I don't think that we are going to be like United States, one state or one nation. But I think we are going to build more and more European character and stronger European Union to a certain point. And then we have to balance somehow between what's decided by the Commission in Brussels and what's decided by the member states. It's a very delicate balance, how far you go to surrender your sovereignty. I think we're still moving to keep EU functioning and competitive in the world. I mean, it's a competitive world. You have new powers emerging, and we want European Union to remain become and remain one of the big powers. And we want to keep the prosperity of European population, so we have to keep the growth of jobs, the growth of the economic growth and so on. And for that you have to adjust the structures of European Union. So I think that's going to continue for a certain point. But at one point I think we'll reach when we will not go beyond. So we will never, my point is we will not become United States of Europe.
As a final question, you do foresee positive relations across the Atlantic between the U.S. and Europe?
Well, we have excellent relations between EU and Europe. Just economically, we are so interwoven, whatever is the word, and so connected that we cannot survive one without the other. I think 2/3 of foreign investments to the US are made by the EU countries. 14 million jobs in US and EU depend on this trade. So that's so much investments and so much linkage, so much interest in trade that we'll have to preserve that. And actually, we are looking now at the ways how to even simplify the trade between the two sides. And politically, you know, we are the two pillars of international relations. We are the two engines of international relations. We have to keep up that. Yeah, as I mentioned, we have new powers that are coming in that might look at the world a little differently that we look at the world. And for that reason, it's so important that we work very closely together. And I think in the past few years, we realized that if we do things together, there's so much more chance that for success than if we don't do things together. So we are working, you know, our cooperation has a great examples, first in the fall of the Berlin Wall, then in the Balkans, how the wars ended in the Balkans. That was all cooperation between the EU and US. Now we are working together for the Middle East. We are working with regard to Iran. There are all the issues that I think we are really cooperating very closely, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you and to your audience.